right now I'm joined by perhaps one of the most fascinating men on Twitter, Leander Campbell. Leander, tell me what your job is, your title, and what your job is.
I am a remote sensing specialist with Agri-Culture Canada. I'm based in Ottawa on the Central Experimental Farm.
But you rarely stay on the experiment. Okay, and wait a second, back up. What is a remote sensing specialist?
I am part of the Earth observation team, so I use satellite imagery to study agri-environmental impacts and effects.
All right, so now for anyone who follows Leander on Twitter, you're going to have an idea of what he does. But there's a lot of people that probably don't and probably haven't heard that this is actually a job that our government does, and it is super cool. So walk me through what you do, and then we'll get to what you get to do in the summer. But tell me what you do.
Okay, so my job is I collect satellite imagery May through September all across Canada. And then I combine that with known ground observation points. So I'll know a certain field was growing corn, another one was growing canola. And then we'll use computer algorithms to actually produce a map showing what was grown in each field across Canada for that season.
So now I'm of two minds on this. I am fascinated by this because, of course, there's a really interesting, amazing sort of what we can tell from satellites and all those sorts of things. But then there's the part of me that's like, so does this replace the annoying phone calls from StatsCan on what your acreage is? Or what are we doing with this information?
We are working towards that maybe in the far future. StatsCan surveys may become a thing of the past. We already have replaced one StatsCan survey in September that they use satellite imagery now to estimate their predictors for that month. But yeah, overall, we're still working towards it. It's still a fairly new field that is rapidly growing fast, so it's interesting.
It is, okay. And so now I do think, though, is this how we know crop rotation? Do we know, who's growing canola on canola? And let me rephrase that. Not who is growing canola on canola, but where we might see 1 and 2, 1 and 3. Can we actually and are we making those maps of crop rotations?
Yes, we can kind of estimate that with a fairly high degree of accuracy. I always say our maps are never 100% accurate. They'll never be 100% accurate. But yes, we can see regionally and down to field levels where this is trending and what's happening out there. And so Agri-Culture Canada doesn't really do much with the rotation maps themselves yet. We don't officially produce them. I kind of on the fly. Whenever it tickles my fancy, I'll go on Twitter and kind of upload a map where I've taken a few years of data and just to see what's happening out there. I'm kind of curious myself to see what's going on. So. And
we should, for everyone following along at home, what is your Twitter handle? Because those are the maps that I love them. I love that I click, 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 and I get to see, canola. No. Okay, so what is your Twitter handle? Because I want people to follow you because we're going to get into the road trip in a second, and they're going to need to hear that. So what is your Twitter handle?
Okay, so my Twitter handle is just my name, @Leander Campbell. Awkward, so I'll spell it out. LeanderCampbell.
All right. Now, it's not awkward. It's a wonderful name. It's Scottish/Greek?
Yes.
Okay, we discussed this before because I'd never heard Leander before, and I think it's a fantastic name. All right, so now tell me. So, of course, these images are taken during the growing season. Yep. You're compiling all that data, but you also get to go out on the road. Why do you go out on the road?
Okay, so as I said earlier, we need to know specific examples of what's growing in the field. And in some provinces, we're able to get that from crop insurance companies. So the 3 prairie provinces plus Quebec produce crop insurance that's what we call geospatially related. So farmer insures a field, we know the specific field, what's growing in that field. So we can take that data and just use that. In the rest of the provinces, we have to go out ourselves on kind of windshield survey driving routes. And we have to travel the country and kind of gather up data ourselves. And so for a good chunk of the summer, I'm traveling around just seeing the sites and recording our data.
So you are basically a GPS tracker in man form for Ontario.
For Ontario, for BC, for the Maritime provinces, yes.
Okay, so I like this and kind of want to know how I get this job. So tell me though about, now you're basically, can I say you're ground truthing? Is that a word you want to use or not?
Yeah, that's fine, that's good.
Now tell me, on average, how much coffee do you drink on these road trips?
Not much. I'm not much of a coffee drinker, only because I am like my mother, and I only need about 4 hours sleep a night. Because if I drank coffee, I'd be wired 24/7.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Also, if I ever get to join you on any of these road trips, we would be making more stops. I'm just saying, because I drink a lot of coffee. Okay, so now walk me through, though, because these are significant road trips that you do. How do you decide where you're going to go and the loop you're going to do? And tell me how you use Twitter to sort of plan that all out.
So, yeah, a bunch of factors come into play. We know that we want to gather up what we deem minor crops. So crops that aren't really that popularly grown across a province, or they're just regionally based. So we want to make sure we hit those spots. And then we just make sure that once we hit those, we kind of travel in between, just kind of zigzagging around. So what takes you an hour to drive will take me about 6 hours, because I'm heading 3 hours east, doubling back a couple of concessions back the other way for 3 hours, and then doubling back again. And I eventually get there.
Eventually. Not all who wander are lost, Leander. Not all who wander are lost. So now, how do you decide which part of the province and which province you tour on what years?
Well, we cover them all the time. It's just I'm the only really Twitter handler in our group, so you get to see where I get to go. And so in the next couple of weeks, we're going to sit down as a team and figure out who's going to go where. And originally, when we started, I always did Southern Ontario. I'm originally from Southern Ontario. I knew the crops down there, so I became the specialist from there. Then after a few years, we decided we really need to start rotating other people in so that we share the wealth and the experience that we've all been gathering. And so, yeah, I've been out to BC. I've done Manitoba. I've done Nova Scotia. And I've been most places in Ontario. I haven't been up to Thunder Bay yet or Nuala Skirt, so.
It's beautiful. I was up there end of March last year. Nuala Skirt was a surprise to me. It actually sort of reminds me of the prairies a little bit, which was really neat. So I highly recommend it. So this year, when you guys are planning, put in a plug, say that some girl on Twitter said I should go up to the north. So away you go. Okay, so I do want to, when did this all start?
So this project started actually in the early 2000s. It was kind of our research team at Earth Observation. So people that tried to come up with the fundamental methodologies that you would use would started off with that. And then by 2008, they had figured out the kind of satellite imagery you'd need, the time of year you'd need to collect data. And we rolled that into what we call an application program. And so that I had started originally as kind of doing some of the groundwork for that research team, and I rolled over into the application. So in 2009, we started doing the prairies. We did that for 2009 and 10, and then in 2011, we started going national with it.
All right, and what do you ever get to see patterns that farmers have made in their field? Perhaps do you catch that on satellite imagery? Someone who's written their name? Like in that movie way back in the day, which now I'm dating myself. But anyway, have you ever seen any of that stuff in the field?
Oh, yeah. I purposely see that, and then I go check it out in real life when I go by. I'm like, oh, it actually exists.
Okay, what has been the neatest one that you found then?
I think the coolest one, there's a winery in Nova Scotia that put an ad out in their field for themselves. And so we went by, checked out if it was actually, and it was there.
That is actually pretty cool. Now I like that you share the wealth, because of course I love to road tour, and some people don't, but I love to get off the beaten path, find the little mom and pop shops, the little restaurants or whatever. What are some of your favorite sites you've found on these tours?
Oh, so many. Oh, geez. Some favorite memories. In Melita, Manitoba, some awesome bakeries goods there. And some honey up in the northern by Dolphin. I got some strawberry honey once at a gas station of all places. It was amazing. At a gas station.
So I will say you've now earned many brownie points, because of course I'm from Manitoba, but I will say I've never had strawberry honey from Dauphin. So that is pretty neat. So shout out to all our listeners out in the Dauphin area. I'm sure we have several. And if you have strawberry honey, please send it our way. We will sample it. We will share it. You just let us know. All right. So, Leander, where do you hope to go this year?
This year, a colleague of mine wants me to go out to BC with him. So I guess I might be going back out there. I was there a couple of years ago. That's rough. I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. Do you only go in like the northern or the lower mainland? Like in my mind, all I think of is wineries and then some dairies in Chilliwack. So that's all. So what's in BC?
So yeah, we actually work with the Ministry of Ag from BC as well, and they have a small group that kind of rotates in doing similar work to we do, and so we kind of fill in the gaps where they don't go. And so typically for us it's Fraser Valley, Okanagan Valley, Thompson area, River Valley, so up near Kamloops and stuff like that. We don't go too far north up into the way up northern parts of BC yet. We've talked about it.
Yeah, I was going to say there's not a lot around Kamloops. It's pretty dry around Kamloops. There's not a lot, but that's okay. All right, Leander Campbell, once again at Leander Campbell on Twitter, remote sensing specialist with Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, not a problem. Anytime.